Hello, creators. How are you guys? It's great to hang out with you again for another Video Creators Podcast episode and live stream. We do these every Monday live at youtube.com/video creators. You can join us at 2 p.m. Eastern time for that. Or if you're in the podcast audience, we love just hanging out with you, whether in your car, walking down the road, taking the dog for a walk, or trying to figure out how to get your kids through online school. We're here for you. Well, maybe not for that part today, but we do want to talk about a very important topic here about how you should be thinking about yourself as a creator. It's very common with all the creators that we work with to work with them, and they very much think of themselves in the creator, like as a creator. My job is to make videos, upload those to YouTube, and it's YouTube's job to make sure that they perform well and that they pay me money, right? Well, maybe you're not exactly that extreme, but there are a lot of creators like that. And today we want to have a very important conversation about this other mindset that you need to have, which is the CEO mindset. A lot of creators fail to even recognize what they actually are, which is a CEO. And in order to grow a business around your YouTube audience, in order to make money on YouTube, and ultimately make all of this sustainable long-term, you must make money, you must grow a business, and you really do need to think about yourself as a CEO in order to make all of that happen. So we are very excited to have a guest with us here today, Josh Zimmerman. He's a creator coach, and he's going to join us to talk more about what that mindset is, how to get it, what that means for us as creators who are growing businesses on YouTube. So we're going to learn a lot from him, and I'm very excited to dive in because this is the stuff, guys, is like we talk a lot about the tactics, the ABCs, the step 1, step 2, step 3s, the processes, and those are all very important. We don't usually get up in this ethereal, like cloud, high level stuff as often, but it's important that we do that here today because I think this is the stuff that's going to set us up for success so that the practical how-to step-by-step stuff actually does work and actually gets the results that we want it to get on YouTube. If you guys are in the live stream in the chat, welcome. It's great to have you guys. Eric, Modern Day Tech, is our moderator here today. And so if you guys have questions as we go through this, by all means, just comment, whether you're watching on Facebook or Periscope or YouTube or whatever, just post your comments and Eric will stay on top of those. He will copy and paste your questions and put them right in front of us. We got a shared Google Doc that we use. So as we're going through this, relevant on-topic questions only. I mean, you got other questions about you trying to get access to your YouTube account, things like that. Great questions, but not for today. So on-topic questions about the things we're talking about here. And we will, Eric, there he goes. Modern Day Tech. So tag him if you have any questions that are on topic. So if you haven't checked out Eric's channel, you totally should. What he does is he takes the complexity out of technology for you and makes it very practical and thinking of technology just not as like cool gadgets that make me look cool in front of my friends, but how do we use these things as actual tools to make our lives better? And Eric does a lot to not only teach you how to use the tools, but how to save money on that technology and how to use it to improve and enrich your life and the lives of those around you. So Eric's, his channel's been growing. Yeah, Periscope still exists. Yes, it does, apparently. But I've only ever had one viewer on it, and the only reason I stream to it is because it's here. So yeah. So if you are live watching us live on YouTube, make sure you tag Eric with your questions, and we will put them. We will answer them here as a part of our show later today as we get past the content section. So thank you, Eric, for being our moderator and producer here, and really appreciate you. Tim always makes me look so good. Well, it's easy to do when you make yourself look good. Don't take that the wrong way. It's great to hang out with you guys again. All right, here we go. Let's see. I am joined today with Josh and Lennon. How are you guys? Good to see you guys here today.
Doing good.
Yeah. How about you, Lennon?
Yeah. I'm doing well. We got a new guest here, so I'm trying to like play it cool. Like maybe I should let him speak first. He's probably like, maybe Lennon's a jerk, and like wants to.
No one's a jerk on this podcast. No, go for it.
Give it 30 minutes. So
yeah, exactly.
I'll get right into it. We'll get some live coaching going on.
No, I'm excited. This is a good one. I've actually been talking to a couple different life coaches myself.
Oh, good.
And just like chatting. And so then when you came up in our discussion today, I was like, uh-oh, what's happening here? This is like one of those moments. So it's good. I'm excited to have you here.
We're all about changing lives.
Hear about it. Yeah.
We're going to start with Lennon's life today.
Yeah. If you can do it right here, right now, I'll bet it's game over. So
listen, I am more than happy to do that. We can do an extra long one, or do a next one and do a live coaching. You may end up crying, but it's great. It's great material.
As long as we're recording.
It'll get, if we go viral on it, I think that's what matters, right?
Perfect. That's all that matters.
Well, if you guys don't know who Lennon is, he is one of the YouTube strategists here in our team that works with our clients and the creators that we work so hard to serve. And Josh and I met a few years ago at VidCon, but I know we have a lot of mutual friends in common, like Mark Robertson and some other people. Why don't you tell us about yourself, real quick, Josh?
Which one's real? Right.
Real
okay,
Josh,
I'm here. Right.
Please stand up, the real one.
Right.
Yeah, tell us about yourself real quick, and so people have a little introduction to you, because as the creator coach, you're if you listen to that, if you're not familiar with what life coaching is, like Lennon suggested, you're like, are you a consultant? Are you like, tell us about yourself and what you do to kind of set the framework here.
Sure. So I'll sort of give you a Cliff Notes version, right? So I come from a background of over 15 years in entertainment. So starting off at E! Entertainment and doing a lot of things, I was fortunate enough to start doing rights and clearances, which if people don't know about, Google it, because I don't have enough time to explain it right now. However, in 2014, I was able to work on the official daily show of YouTube called YouTube Nation. And that was a joint venture between Jeffrey Katzenberg,
I remember
DreamWorks Animation, and YouTube. And I was the guy who was lucky enough to have no idea who any YouTubers were. And my job was to reach out to everyone and ask to use their content every day on the show. But I had no idea who these people were. So I was emailing Hank Green, I was emailing Zay Frank, no idea who they were, but I quickly fell in love with the platform. To just give you a little bit of context, I went to school for broadcast journalism. So I love telling stories. Fast forward, YouTube Nation came to a close after a year. Unfortunately, it's still on YouTube, so you can watch it. And I helped start an MCN for an independent television arts network called Ovation, and then did a couple other businesses. And I had a few creators ask me to start managing them. And I was like, no,
managing them being that you're handling their brand deals and representing them to sponsors and their schedule, calendar, booking, all that.
Well, no, the schedule and the calendar is that's glorified assistant, which I was like, no, that you can do that on your own.
Okay.
My job is to help build your business and your brand and your IP, and help grow your business. And as a manager, I had 2 or 3 people ask me to manage them, and I was like, sure. And then it sort of blew up. And before I knew it, I had 10 large clients. And I loved doing it. But what I realized was that I didn't want to be chasing the next it person. That just was not who I was. And in 2017, mid-2017, I had creators who were my friends coming to me asking me for advice because they were burning out. And so I started giving them advice, and I realized, I need to write an article about this. And so I wrote an article about creator burnout on LinkedIn, right? Barely anyone read it. And I was like, but the article was like, as a manager to other managers and everyone in our community, we need to do something about this.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people read it. which is totally fine.
Same with me. Whenever I make a video about that topic, nobody watches it.
I'll watch it.
Yeah. But yeah. The
right?
people who need it though don't watch it. That's the problem.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, but then we had that huge tsunami of all those articles about large creators burning out. And I read them and I noticed something really interesting, which was everybody was talking about people burning out, but no one was doing anything about it. All the articles were about, I'm burning out, this and that, but there was no solution. And so I decided that I was going to be the solution. And so I decided to become a life coach. Now, this is where the coaching, my dad's a life coach as well. But let me explain to you what life coaching is and how it can be confusing, because there's a lot of life coaches out there. Mm-hmm. Now, coaching is not a regulated industry. So that's good and bad, right? So the bad part is it's not regulated. Anyone can call themselves a coach. The good part is it's not regulated. However, in order to be a certified coach, there's a governing body called the ICF, the International Coaching Federation. And in order to be a certified coach, which you have to have your, there's ethics, there's board member, it's a slog. If you were to blaze through the process of schooling, it would take minimum 2.5 years. So it's like a master's degree, plus tons of hours of coaching, rigorous testing to make sure that you are up to the standards of the main body of coaches. And so I went through that program and was able to secure my certification, which is called a PCC certification, which is the second highest level as a certified coach. I'm one of 7 people in my age range in all of California that hold that certification, and one of 136. I'm sorry, one of 176 in all of the United States. Okay. So let me explain to you quickly what coaching is and what coaching isn't. And it's sort of broken into 3 different categories. So the first one we have is when I say I'm a coach, everyone's like, oh, you're like a therapist. I go, oh, no. But I highly recommend therapy to everybody. But for therapy is you go to a licensed medical professional, right? And you work with them on issues from your past that are affecting you right now. There's sort of therapy in a nutshell. There's a lot more to it. And you're diagnosed by the DSM-5, which is this big, big book of diagnoses. Therapy in a nutshell. Then we have consulting, which you guys know a thing or two about.
And a few of those things, yeah.
Right, exactly. And consulting is, I'm the expert, and you're paying me to tell you what to do. Pretty straightforward.
Yep.
And then you have coaching. And coaching is, you're the expert, not me. And my job is to help you get from point A to point B and figure out what's getting in the way. And once we figure out what's getting in the way, we don't go around it or over it or under it. We go through it. And so one of the big, big things is we're always looking forward. So therapy, you're looking to the past. And we might look to the past a little bit, but coaching, we're looking to the future.
Yeah. So you're working with creators to help them get to where they want to be in their business and their creative endeavors and family, life, or really anything. Yeah.
Literally everything. So my clients, include clients with millions and millions of subscribers down to, 20,000. It really, really depends. And the issues that come up are really important to them. But a lot of it centers around business.
Yeah. Cool.
And executive coaching, which is a little bit more of consulting in there.
Yeah. So given your background with not only with YouTube on the industry side, but your relationship with all these creators and You're like, I want to help these people not burn out. I want to help them stay in the game, reach more people, change their lives, give their business like the help that it needs. So I feel like you're a pretty good person to talk about, like, how do we shift the mindset from thinking just as a creator, where my goal is to make content and then hands off. But you're going to talk with us today about how do we actually do that, but in a way that's like actually grows our business, and start thinking like that CEO hat. So I think it's gonna be a perfect conversation here.
Awesome.
Before we dive in, I want to introduce you guys to Steve. Steve recently went through our course, 30 Days to Better YouTube channel, and he's going to share with you a couple of things that really helped his channel start to grow. And from when he started, like small channel, just wanting to get some traction, making some videos, not seeing much traction. And then he did 3 things that sparked growth into his channel. And he is here. Actually, Ledden sat down with him to do to have this little conversation about what are those 3 things that really made the biggest difference on growing his channel. And here's Steve. Here's Ledden's a little clip from their conversation from earlier.
Steve, it is so good to have you here with us. We're so grateful to have you be a part of the community. Why don't you tell us about yourself, your channel, what you got going on?
My name's Steve Atkins-Arnell from the UK, as you can tell by the accent, just outside London. I've got a channel called London Visited. And the reason for starting it is because the family and I love going to London so much. So we wanted to share it wider afield, but we wanted to put a family aspect on it. So what was really critical was when we got this and we were filming our favorite places, it's how could we aim that at people that are doing the same sort of thing, but are also really, really conscious about a budget, because like any major capital city around the world, it is really, really expensive. But then we started thinking, so if people are coming to London, how can we make sure they enjoy the experience and not spend the first couple of days orienteering and trying to understand what they need to do? So we put a couple of videos in there to try and help them out to do that.
That's awesome. Yeah. So tell us a little bit, because you were going through the 30 days material. Is that right?
Yeah. I've absolutely completed it. So I've got 3 things really out of the 30 days. And the first thing is, who was it aimed at? So before doing this, we knew sort of a general, this is why we were doing it and this is who it's aimed at. But now I've got it to such a specific, when I'm now creating videos and we're putting the videos together, I can aim it at a specific person. I've even got a name for this individual. I know their age, I know what their problems are. So having it so specific. And what's really funny, once I'd done that, within 3 to 4 weeks of doing that and having videos out which were aiming at that, all of a sudden I got connections from people that I was aiming it at, coming to me and saying, actually, I'm coming up to London with my children. Where can I stay? What's the best hotel? And this isn't through a, give me a contact if you need to know.
Yeah.
This was proactively done. And I took 2 minutes. I stopped responding through Messenger, and I took 2 minutes and I thought, I don't believe it. I've actually done it, because it's doing what I want. And it was just phenomenal. So we're going to keep that piece going without doubt. I think the value proposition is also, that's the second thing, because there's 3 things I've got out the 30 days as a starter. So the second thing, value proposition, being really specific, but also knowing, really want to help people save money when they come and do it, because it is just so expensive. There's lots of ways to reduce costs. You want to go and do the big attractions, but where do you go to go and get vouchers, to get money off, to buy better? So we were making sure we've got that in there. And the third and final part, without doubt, is the storytelling, the 7-part process of the storytelling. And interweaving that in there has made such a massive difference. And it's interesting because not only has it made a difference within the videos, but we're not full-time YouTubers. We'd love to be at some point off in the future. But within my own work, I've now started using it within stories and putting things together when I'm talking about other people. And people just look at me when I get to points 4 and 7, which is the what happens, what's at stake if you don't get it. And then the final part, the character transformation. And they just look at me and go, I've really got it. I really understand it. I can see why this is happening. And it's so fantastic. So just having those 3 bits really has made a difference from the 30 days. And then taking this through has made such a difference that it's made a difference to the channel. So the transformation that we've seen in the channel in 3 months is we've seen an increase in subs by 60%, an increase in views by 40%. But even more importantly, it's that human contact. It's focusing on people, but then when you know you've got someone coming back at you and asking questions in your target audience, it's like, wow.
Yeah, you know that it works. Like, and I say this to clients all the time because they're like, "Well, I just don't know. This isn't what my demographics say in the analytics." And I'm like, "Listen, when you start to do it, it will happen. They will come to you." And I love that testimony. That's such a powerful thing, Steve. That's so cool. I'm so excited, and I'm so glad also, just for the sake of pointing it out, that you're looking at your metrics from a percentage standpoint, because we encourage this so much, because what we know is we don't need the biggest audience, we just need the right one. And so seeing these improvements and looking at that, it compounds on itself. It's like a great interest rate in the bank. Like, we just keep doing it and it'll keep stacking up. So proud of and for you, Steve, and thanks so much again for being here and hanging out and chatting for a few minutes.
Lennon, fantastic. And thanks very much to all of you guys as well. Really appreciate it.
You guys can check out Steve's channel. It's called London Visited. There's a link down to it in the show notes. If you're thinking about going to London, you want some of those tips and advice, go check him out. And there's also a link down there to our course, 30 Days to Better YouTube channel. If you are looking for that step-by-step process that really helps you know exactly what you need to do in the right order in order to position your channel for growth, that is exactly what this process is all about. 30 Days to Better YouTube channel. You can go to videocreators.com/30days and jump right into it and check it out, see if it's right for you or not. Register today and get started that process. That's about like the things that Steve talked about, defining who your audience is, figuring out what value they want to consume from you. And then Lennon, I didn't know we talked about storytelling in that one in 30 days, but he was like, the story makes a big difference. I thought that came later, but I might have been a half tip to it.
He listens to all the stuff. Okay. And yeah, so we had done his 30 days, because if you do 30 days, you can also do a consult kind of post as a wrap up. And so he had done that with me. Gotcha. And story was a little thing that we
do definitely set up your channel for that story element, including like algorithm stuff and how do you need to think about search and discovery and all that kind of stuff is in the 30 days course. So videocreators.com/30 days. You can check out, type it in your phone or click the link down below and dive into it for yourself and get started with that process for growing your channel, reaching more people and changing their lives, starting with your own. Okay, let's see here. What's next? Content. You guys got questions? I think we've got 2 of them. So if you're in the chat here, we got some good ones. But as we go through this, make sure you tag Modern Day Tech, and he will put those here in front of us. And we'll answer them in just a few minutes. All right. Josh, when it comes let me do that again. Josh, when it comes to thinking of ourselves as CEOs, thinking of ourselves as not just creators, like a lot of creators don't think of themselves that way at all. So what does that mean when it comes to being a small business, setting up what we're doing on YouTube as a business? What's the difference maybe? Like, where should we start in thinking about ourselves as CEOs?
Really great question. One of the things that I tell most of my clients, if not all of them, or any creative that I talk to, is that you're going to be relevant on YouTube or any platform for this long before nobody really...
Like 2 seconds?
we don't know, right? Before nobody cares about you. That's I'm sorry, Tim. That's the hard truth. However, when you're working with Tim and his team, they're able to hopefully extend that a lot longer.
4 seconds.
However, 4 seconds, right?
4 seconds, doubled it.
Yeah, probably not the best slogan, but we'll go with it. But the goal is, once you are, since we don't know when the end goal is, you have to think about the future and what happens afterwards, right? So if you're going to be relevant for this long, what are you doing during this time to help you be successful in the future? How are you going to build those pipelines of income? How are you going to capture the emails, continue the momentum when the channel starts to turn, when your audience ages out or ages in, or you go in a different direction, which is always fun, which I call the creator dilemma, which is, here's your content, right? And you really love doing this stuff and you don't get the views because your fans don't like it, but the stuff you really don't like doing, your fans love, and we start doing this.
Yeah, that's
right?
exactly where I'm at. We've been talking about that lately. Yeah.
We can coach on it. So so the as a CEO, you are a business. If you're making money on YouTube, you're a business. And so you have to think like a business and like a CEO. But the really important thing that a lot of people don't realize is that you have it much harder. I don't care how big your channel is. You have it much harder than a brick and mortar. And the reason is because you don't get to go home.
You can't lock the door and just turn off the lights and have some off time.
You can't, because when you're laying in bed, you're thinking about the next thing to come up. You're trying to figure out the next thing. You're trying to be creative. You're trying to do all of these different things. You don't get to leave your office. And usually your boss is not the nicest to you sometimes. And you're your
I can feel that.
Be careful
I can
now.
feel that.
Yeah, I know so many creators who and this is really unfortunate. They end up living their lives. They don't have an off switch. They live their lives for what's going to get the most hearts on Instagram, the most likes on YouTube.
Well, those are dopamine hits, Tim.
Yeah, exactly.
It's you're getting hits of dopamine, also known as dope. Right?
And at the end of it, you have very few real relationships left. Correct. And you don't even know who you are anymore, because you've just been living for likes and hearts and stuff. Right. And before long, you're like, who am I? What do I do again? And then it becomes even, I know we're kind of different direction, but I get really passionate about this because so many creators end up like ruining their lives, and they lose a sense of identity. And especially when the hearts and the likes go down, then it reflects on them personally, they feel like, and now their whole self-worth and identity is like in question, and creates like these really, I mean, you probably know more about obviously more than I do, and I'm just like, guys, stop it. So yes, I'll get down. I work with Fox, but yeah,
I work. That's what I work with. I just wrote an article that was featured in Tube Filter, and then I just about some of that stuff and perspective. But it's really important that as a CEO, you realize, okay, this is a business, but the business is me. So how do you separate yourself from the business? And on top of that, how do you reconcile not? Right? Because if somebody leaves a bad Yelp review, you're going to get, on a normal business, you're going to get defensive. But if somebody leaves a comment about you, that's the business. It's you. So it's really, really hard to separate those two. So I work with clients, and I think it's important to understand that you as a creator are a CEO. One of the really important things that everyone should know, and this is some statistics from the U.S. Department of Commerce from a few years ago, okay, about just businesses in general. And these are brick and mortar, but the statistics is, according to the U.S. Department of Commerce, 96% of businesses started this year. Now, it's not going to be this year because of the virus and everything, but 96% of businesses started this year will fail before their 10th birthday. And here's the breakdown. I'm not every at my 10th birthday yet. Right? So, well, YouTube is a different. YouTube, like 1 year is like 10 years for in dog years for YouTube.
Okay,
but just to give you, right? So just to give you some perspective on what really is happening is, every year, 1 million people start businesses, and this is what happens to them. By the end of year one, at least 40% of the businesses fail. Okay.
Is that because a lot of them are just tire kickers and they're not really serious about it, but they like have an idea and then they guess? Because like so, it happens to so many creators too. They're like, oh, I'm going to start a YouTube channel. And then they get a camera, they figure out how to press record, and then they post 2 videos and they didn't get 1 million views. So like, wow, this is harder than I thought. And then they quit. Is that similar?
That's one of them. I think you don't have a strategic plan. You don't have a SWOT. You don't need that as a creator to start off. What you need, and the most important thing you need, is a strong why. Mm-hmm. Why should I care? Mm-hmm. And the why comes from when you're watching people on YouTube or TikTok or whatever platform, Instagram. You like it or you watch it because it's resonating with you. Why am I laughing? Why am I crying? Why am I feeling this way? So anyone who wants to become a creator, don't do it for the money. I've not met any creators that have been really successful who jumped on just for the money.
Yeah, so it's hard to stay motivated when it's just for the money, because that part comes so slowly.
And you have no control over it.
Yeah,
you have no control.
Very little control. So it's like, yeah, you need a deeper motivation, like we call it like a personal mission or something that like.
Correct. It's a mission. You have a mission and a vision, right?
Right. Yeah.
It's what you want it and how you want to get there and the strong why. But so by the end of the first year, 40% of businesses fail. Then within 5 years, more than 80% of the businesses left have failed. That's 800,000 businesses gone. And then by year 10, out of the ones that are left, an additional 80% of the businesses fail. So you're down to 4% of 1 million businesses. So I know that's heavy and it sounds daunting, but you can be part of that 4% if you think about it strategically, you have support, and you also understand that you are in a industry that is blended unlike any other industry. And it's so important to understand what your role is as the CEO and how to manage your money, how to manage your time, and how to allocate that to different people and outsource that to different specialists.
So when you talk about being a CEO, what is that mindset difference? Is it like mostly thinking about outsourcing and thinking about how can I get other people to do it? Or is a mindset or a CEO mindset more about, well, I don't think it's not about how much money is coming in, especially when you're first getting started. What is the difference of someone who has the CEO mindset versus someone who doesn't?
Well, it's really entrepreneurship, right? And so there's a really great book that I will is called The E-Myth Revisited. The E-Myth Revisited, right?
Yeah, it's good.
Why most small businesses don't work and what to do about it, and that's by Michael E. Gerber. Yeah. If you haven't read it, read it, and if you've read it, read it again.
Yep. Do you know who Grant Thompson was from The King of Random?
He was a very, very close friend of mine.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry. And I knew him very well as well. For those who don't know, he passed away in an accident. A year or two ago now?
Around almost coming up on, a little bit more than a year.
When he had 6 million subscribers when we started working with him, and I'm not sure how much the story I have permission to share, but basically he just felt overwhelmed and almost burned out and was like, I've got to, he's like, Tim, you're going to help me turn this around. I'm going to quit YouTube. And so one of the issues we worked through is the processes and systems and things. So I had him read that book we talked about, and he ended up reading it 3 times. Mm-hmm. And maybe you recommended it to him too. So that would be good. But by the end, he read it 3 times. And at the end of it, he's like, every time I go through it, I get something new, get something better out of it. And it really helped him solidify a lot of reproducible systems that helped him start to scale and grow. So like you said at the beginning, often you are the business. Like you can, and he was able to start systematically duplicating himself into other people who now the channel continues to live on even without him, which is a great testament, I think, to the systems and processes he put in place to allow that to happen. So all that to say, guys, I definitely recommend that E-Myth book to anyone who's trying to figure out, like, how do I create a sustainable business around my channel? So definitely it's a foundation.
There's very few channels that have that, right? You have Game Theory, Stephanie and Matt Pat, and you have Grant, and a few others that have really systematically built it and thought about it in a really, really strong way, and been able to have support from outside, but also what you shouldn't do as a CEO is go and hire a ton of people and do a ton of things. No, you have to start at the bottom, and you have to have a heads down approach and know that it's not going to come overnight. It's just not.
So is that one viral video is like long term, or that's just part of it?
This is a marathon, not a sprint.
So thinking like a CEO is like, you got to have a long-term vision for where you want to be and how you're going to get there. And it's about creating good systems and things in place, like from E-Myth to get there. Is there anything else, or is that kind of like?
Well, I think the goal, when you think of yourself as a CEO or a founder, it's your company. It's your brand. And so what's important to do is, and there's sort of, it's hard to let go of control, right? Editing or different things as you start to grow. And so what's important to do is, as the business starts to grow, you need to continue to think in the CEO mindset of, how do I lead? Right? Yeah. How do I keep above all the noise and be really, really focused on the future, and have people around you that are supportive of you, helping you towards that vision and keeping everything afloat. It's a huge responsibility.
Yeah. Born 100 years too late in the chat says, I just didn't think it was going to be an ultra marathon. Yes. That's when you know you feel you're probably on the right track.
Yes, it is. It is an ultra marathon. This is not a sprint. You're going to burn out if you sprint it. So if you freak out and you're scared and you start doing things like, video didn't get this many views, and you start operating out of fear, that's the quickest way to ruin your channel and your business.
So someone could come to you, Josh, to say like, okay, Josh, I get it. I want to start thinking like a CEO. What do I actually do? Read the book E-Myth, I'm guessing, is step number one. What else would be up there? The top things to do to start developing this skill?
So one of the things as a coach, what I do is I usually work with creators and creatives and executives who are pretty well established. So if somebody comes to me, which I'll take a free call from, I'll do a consultation for free with anybody, and I will see where they're at. And so if they're not at the point that they would benefit from my services because they're not there yet, I would give specific recommendations. One of my clients came up with a brilliant term, which is called coach-sulting, which is a mixture of coaching and consulting. Because as an executive coach, you do have an opinion. In traditional coaching, you don't, right? I'm quiet usually. For anyone who knows me, this is going to be a shock, but I'm usually quiet 80% of the entire session. That's not the case today, but because of that, it really depends on where you are in your journey.
Yeah.
But what I usually see, Tim and Lennon, is overwhelmed, being pulled in too many directions, and doing the things that are fun and avoiding the things that are not fun but have to get done.
Yeah. Yeah, I heard that if you want to win at growing any business in any industry, it's about these things we're talking about, guys, about like thinking long term, thinking in the future. It's about having a plan, strategy. But that thing you just said, Josh, a lot of creators trip over that because there's so much to do.
Right.
And it feels so overwhelming, especially when you're trying to turn this into a job. I like what Professor Slot said in chat. He said, a Daryl Roos survey came out with 6 to 8 years to be able to give up a day job, but that's only if you're trying to do it, and only a few percentage make it. So he learned that when he got started. He's at 5 years now, which is about true for me.
Congratulations.
I did. Well, yeah, for him. And I started YouTube in 2006, and it wasn't my full-time gig until 2007. Nope, hold on. 2013. So what is that? It's like 6 years later ish, something like that.
Six, right?
Yeah.
So that was the other thing is
right.
Don't quit your day job unless you have a job.
But the thing that we all get this, like, it's so easy when you're in the process of like, well, this isn't working. And then you pivot and change course like 14 different times every single week. And then there's like, well, I got to get the Instagram going. I got to get this going. And there's so many shiny objects that will compete for our attention that it's very important that we stay focused on one thing long enough for it to succeed. And so when it comes to CEO mindset, I think it's part of this thing that I forget where I heard it from one of the audiobooks I'm sure I'm listening to, but they said that, I remember it was Michael Masterman from Ready, Fire, Aim, I think is his book. And he says that the most billionaires in the world didn't become billionaires because they figured out 15 different things. It's because they became the best in the world at one thing. And so that's a question I ask myself as I'm leading our team and our companies. Like, what do we want to be best in the world at?
Right.
And I picked that based on what gives me the most energy, the most life, gets me going the most, where I have the most amount of passion. And it's not where we kind of like a hat tip to we said earlier, where it's not where the most money is, or the most popularity is. Because right now we're focusing more and more on that next level creator who's ready for the next level tips and tactics and strategies. He's got around 10,000 subscribers, and he got a taste of like, I can see this is going to be worth it, but I just need to put in a little bit more time and need a little bit more direction to get over the hump of getting into that full-time status. And so that comes not by doing 100 different things and having them all going at once, but it's like, what can be the best in the world at? And I feel that's part of what you're saying is like, focus. Don't get distracted. What do you want to be best in the world at, and go after that thing?
Ready, aim, shoot, ready, aim. Is it happens all the time, right? It's, and it doesn't work, but we do it because it's easier. And if you are able to have support from different people, whether it's a coach, and I would always say a certified coach, because they know what they're doing, versus coming up with a strategy. You cannot do this. You cannot be on YouTube or any other platform and think that you're going to make money if you don't have a strategy and a strategic plan. And that comes with the mission and the vision, right? So I do that with with creators. We're talking SWOT analysis, strategic plans. What is your vision? What is your mission? What do you stand for? What are the threats? What are the opportunities? So being hyper focused, and the goal, and if you read the E-Myth, is to have the business running if you get hit by a truck. I don't want you to get hit by a truck, either of you.
What about food poisoning? Better?
Right. Yeah, go for food poisoning.
Okay.
But I will say to everyone watching and everyone that's working with you, 10,000 subscribers is not easy. That is a huge accomplishment. People don't, everyone's like, oh, I only have.
Right. I know. Yeah.
And I'm like, just hold, like, pause. You have 10,000 people that have said they want to watch you. And I'll share a small thing here just for perspective. And Tim, I'll put you on the spot. When you do a video, and let's say it gets, you normally get 100,000 views, right? And you put out a video, and it gets 27,000. I mean, let's call it 30,000.
Thank you.
What's your initial reaction?
When that happens on my channel, to be totally honest,
Yeah.
I'm not really paying attention to the views close enough anymore to actually.
Well, when back in the day when you were.
Yeah, I think for me, in the beginning, what I used to do, this is what most people do, I think even now, is they're like, oh, that was a terrible video, and I need to like go back to doing this other thing or something like that. But if it's a video that I made about mental health stuff on YouTube that I'm passionate about, that very few people watch, I'm like, yeah, like 30,000 people
30.
watched it. And hopefully the people who watch are the people whose lives are going to be impacted by it.
So here's the awareness around it, right? And is that, let's say you got 30,000 views in a week. Do you know how many people Madison Square Garden holds? Either of you guys? Wild guess.
Lennon's probably performed there, but I don't know. He's a former rock star.
I would say 12,000 people.
24,000. Halfway
there. I was
so
halfway.
If everyone goes on and Google's Madison Square Garden sold out, you sold out Madison Square Garden within a week. And
free,
look
though.
at the
Yeah.
Well, if you have right.
Yeah.
However, if you have the business pipelines of Patreon and different things, it's not going to be free.
Yeah.
But you sold out Madison Square Garden, and go on there and see what artists are trying to sell at Madison Square Garden, and you beat them. Lady Gaga may sell it out within a minute, right? Do the math. But you're in a fraction. You're in the same world as the top stars to sell at Madison Square Garden. That's the reality that we always forget. That we think, oh, these are just numbers. No, these are people. That's a success.
Yeah. I think it's easy because we compare ourselves to anyone who's always doing better than us, rather than looking at where we're at. And no matter what number you're at, you're always going to find someone who's doing better than you. And
Correct.
As long as that's your focus, it's going to be a pretty frustrating journey.
It's not going to be fun, and you won't succeed.
Shark Scraper, let's do a few questions here. He asked, many of my viewers often express almost a hatred of business, yet they are running channels themselves. How do I keep the CEO separated from the persona of the channel? I'm curious what you think. Are they even two different personas, or yeah?
Many of your viewers express hatred of business and running channels. Well, then you shouldn't be in business.
I think maybe what he's saying is like there's this like me on camera person,
Sure,
and then there's this like, okay, I got to put the business hat on, and is there a way to separate those, or should they be separated, or what?
They have to be separated, right? You have to be able to separate. If you're if you're a creator, you're creative. Like that's your right side of the brain. Right. So you may not like the business planning and those kind of things. That's where you can get some support. But you also have to put in the work. Don't just go out and get support. Put in the work and see where you're really struggling, because you do have to separate it a little bit. And it's really hard when it's you, right?
Shark Scraper, I would say as well that if your other people hate the business side, the other people running channels, like, well, you're gonna last longer than they will.
Yes.
And you'll turn it into something and they likely won't. So
unfortunately, I don't sugarcoat things. So that's, head marathon. Always learning.
Beckbro Jack asks, what significant failures should be avoided at all costs, and which failures are beneficial to go through in order to learn from and grow as a CEO? Ones to avoid and ones to grow through.
I'm throwing it to you, Tim.
I don't know that there's any to avoid at all costs unless they're like legal things that you just should avoid just because you're doing the right thing. I think other ones to avoid would be anything that goes against your own morals, ethics, or beliefs or values or something like that. Those always end up backfiring. No matter, whenever you compromise on those, you always regret it. And that could be one you need to do a few times in order to learn from, but I think I can save you the headache right there. Like there's one right now, and I can't say the brand, but they are a very big national brand who they were doing theatrical releases in movie theaters before COVID hit. And now all the movie theaters are shut down. They are releasing their stuff online. And so they reached out to us, and it would be really good for our brand, a lot of big credibility. It would be work that Delana would probably be the one spearheading it on her team. She would love doing that. She's a big fan of other films and shows that they've done. And so we would do the strategy for original series for them on YouTube, which would be huge. We'd love it. But there's just in the preliminary conversations with them, I'm like, I don't think on a belief level this is going to work. And every time I've tried to force it to work because it pays really well for stuff that we can do really easily, I always regret it. And so we're not doing it. And said no. So it's hard to make those choices, but when you do when the dollar signs get bigger and you end up compromising, you always that's a lesson I've learned, unfortunately, and I'm not making that mistake anymore this time. We don't take on the clients unless we feel like there's good alignment between what we can do for them and where they're going, what they want, things like that. So
when it comes to the failures, every failure that you have is an opportunity for you to learn from. So it's only going to help you. So don't be afraid of failing. Right? It's like when you fall off a horse, get back on it. So you will always learn from your failures. Failing is one of the best things that can happen. What I would say is what should be avoided at all costs is not having your company set up as a S Corp or LLC, not having legal paperwork, or having a good lawyer if you're doing brand deals, and making sure that you're abiding by the FTC guidelines. But any brand deals, anyone you're bringing on as a freelancer, NDAs, anything in the legal realm, that could be a huge catastrophic failure. That you can't recover from. Unnecessarily. That would be the one. But I would say otherwise, be excited to fail because you're going to learn from it.
And that legal stuff is easy to figure out. A couple Google searches. I hear California is one of the most difficult ones. I haven't set up a business there, but even in California, I'm sure you can find plenty of guys. And if you don't, if you don't want to figure it out, think like a CEO is well worth however much, couple $100 you need to pay a lawyer or someone to set it all up. Or maybe if you have an accountant, sometimes they'll do that for you as well. So Just reach out to other people as well.
And I have a few references. So if anyone has any questions, they can email me, just Josh at Creator Coach, and I can do that. But it's also important to work with an accountant or a lawyer in your state that understands your state laws.
Yep. Domisum, I think you said how you say it. How do you go about the work-life balance as a YouTube creator? I know hard work is important, but how much work is too much?
So, Thomasum, that is one of the hardest things to do, is that work-life balance. And if you have that gut feeling that you're working too hard, then you've crossed the line. And the work-life balance is really part of thinking about a few different things. One, as a CEO, right, you have to hustle, and you are going to be spending a lot of time working. However, when you are doing that, you have to be able to give yourself and your body time to, and your brain time to recover, to be able to think and process at its optimum. And so if you work best in the morning, then come up with a morning routine to be able to do that work-life balance. But if you don't have a work-life balance, and especially right now with the pandemic, which everybody should be listening to the authorities and and staying inside, which makes it even more much harder. There are things, I work with creators all the time on creating that work-life balance, but it is very important that trusting your intuition and going, ooh, this is too much. Or if you are with someone, a significant other, or someone's like, hey, this is too much, you need to check in. And that's going to be your greatest barometer if you're not working with a coach.
Josh, if anyone wants to reach out to you and get in touch with you, they can go to creatorcoach.com or reach out to you, Josh at creatorcoach.com. Is that right?
Yeah, easiest way is Josh at creatorcoach.com. And I reply to everybody. I try to as quickly as possible, but you can also follow me on the socials as well to get a hold of me too.
Great. And why don't you wrap us up with our quote of the day? Delana, you guys, is out. She's not feeling well today, so just the three of us here. But Josh is gracious enough to step in and do her quote. Well, not her quote, it's your quote, but
right.
her segment, basically.
So I'm taking over the podcast now. So this is one of my favorite quotes from Dorothy Corkville Briggs. And this is for everybody out there when it comes to being a CEO, but also as a creator and just in general. And it is, growth is not steady, forward, upward progression. It is instead a switchback trail, 3 steps forward, 2 back, 1 around the bushes, and a few simply standing before another leap forward. Focus on a few simply standing.
That's right. And then you'll take a few first steps, fall out on your face, and go around the bush a few more times again.
Right, and it'll be nettles. Right, you'll go around the bush and you'll get stung by nettles or a cactus, but you'll learn. You'll fail from getting around that. But yes, it is, again, it's a switchback. You're growing, and that's what's so great about what you guys are doing, is that you're helping people navigate the switchback trail and move forward. And so, as a CEO, you need to realize that you are going to take 2 steps back, and then you're going to stop, and then you're going to take a leap forward, and then you're going to have to stop for a second. So it's a little bit, it's not, it's jolting. And so if you can have support systems out there, if you can have people like Tim and his team, if you are able to work with a coach, if you're able to trust your intuition and know that it is not always forward, it's sort of the Tarzan method, that is going to be your best way forward. And that is the quote of the month or the year.
Yeah, it's so easy to want to have just get this thing microwaved, have dinner real fast, and then it's like we want to quickly have our entertainment at our fingertips, and we want lightning fast communication, and the things I found that are worth having in life take time, take discipline, like a good marriage, right? There's no microwavable good marriage. Like having children, being good parents. It's about having meaningful relationships in your life. It's about growing a business or growing a YouTube channel. Like the things that are worth having, to just take some time and dedication. And if you think there's a switch for it, you're probably gonna bow out pretty quickly. And on one hand, just to be totally honest, if we're going to tell the truth like it is, I'm glad that filter's there to kind of weed out a lot of the people who don't have a mission and who are just trying to look for something quick. If it was easy, everyone would be doing it. There's definitely a lot of people trying it, but that doesn't mean everyone should get there. And I found that normally the people who put the work into it to get there are not always, but more often than not, are the ones who are like, yes, you should be here. Like you're going to reach a lot of people, change a lot of lives, and you're going to make a lot of money doing it. And that's like the best combo, because you're serving other people well and they're serving you well. And then you get to serve people on your team well, right? It's a win-win-win situation.
That's exactly right. And the other thing is, you're not alone. It's very easy to feel alone when you're a creator. Oh, I'm the only one that feels this way. I'm the only one that's doing this. It's important to have a community. The other thing is, it's important to have a support group and different places that help advise you. But anyone that promises you something, anyone's guaranteed X amount, of growth in the first, anyone who's doing bold promises, which why I respect you guys, because you don't. Anyone who's doing that, just be wary, because you're the one. Tim and his team can help you as much as possible, but you're the one that's going to have to put in the work. And so anyone who's promising, yeah.
So I can't promise people if they subscribe to the podcast that they're going to grow their channel. Darn it.
You can. No, you can, because here's the thing. They're putting in the work listening to it.
That's right. That's usually the caveat. Like if you do this work in this order, this way, the people who do it get results. We don't guarantee what the results are, because every niche and audience and demographic and creator and everything's different. But some people, it's just like, it's just take work up, too much work. I'm out. All right.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's totally fine. And that's the thing, is that anyone that promises you, I can get X amount for you, that's not possible.
Yeah. So the long and steady, guys, the way to go, and having that perspective as CEO will definitely help get you there. So thank you, Josh, for hanging out with us and talking us through these things. You guys want to check them out, creatorcoach.com. In the meantime, thank you all for being here with us, and we will see you guys again next week for another Video Creators Podcast episode. See you guys then. Bye.